All right. Welcome, everyone, to this MLM Club Quick Start Basics. We're very happy to be with you here tonight. Our goal is to equip and empower and entertain and educate you on the basics of building your business. Our goal with this school is to teach you how to build a strong and profitable business. But before we get started or do any introductions, I invite you to grab a pen and paper so we can let you know what's coming up. You may know that we have our MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Monday through Friday at noon Eastern Time on the Facebook group of that name, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. And on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a Facebook Live training on some aspect of network marketing. Jeff and I do both of those groups. And then on Wednesday night, you all are invited to the Leadership University, MLM LU. That is at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where we discuss and give you stories and examples of one of the books by John Maxwell on leadership. So this month, in November, we are on Becoming a Person of Influence. And this coming Wednesday, we are on chapters 6, 7, and 8 that we'll be discussing. So we'd love to have you come on and join us with that. We have questions and answers after that session, which is about 90 minutes. We also have it after this one. So what we do each time is shut off the recording at the 90-minute time, and then we can hear from you, and if you can bring any questions about network marketing or about leadership to these calls. The next Indiana event is going to be January 25th to 27th. And that is an enterprise, a launch, free enterprise summit about financial education, language, and mindset. So that's going to be awesome. The one in October was just mind-blowing to me. It was just totally professional, quality speakers, breakthroughs that people had. It was very, very special. So we welcome you there. We've had a number of people from the school come on, including William and Stephanie Mandera, who are on the call tonight, and other people drive in from other states to attend that, including me. So a very, very special event. Would like to welcome our newest member, Kim Basin. Welcome. And let's see, I'm just going to read something that Facebook showed me the other day that Jeff wrote 4 years ago. And I thought this might be of interest, just edifying network marketing. Now, this guy has personally recruited over 500 people frontline, built 2 teams of over 5,000 people, and his teams have produced over 10 million in sales. His team for 4 years was one of the top 25 teams for recruiting in the country in his organization. And his team had 5 of the 10 top recruits in his state for his company. So I could say a lot more, but I listened to this guy, Jeffrey David Gamble, and this is what Facebook showed me that I posted about him 4 years ago, and it's so true today too. He said, I've done all of the following, made money in all 3, real estate, stock market, savings, a lot of money. By far, all take work, all take learning, all take investment, but MLM is by far the best bang for your buck. The lowest risk financially, least amount of skill needed, least amount of time. Trust me, learn from the people who have made a $3.5 million mistake. Not too far behind you, Jeff. Find someone great to train you who is making money and give it your all. In the long run, you'll be much better off. So that is edifying for network marketing itself. And I've heard this repeated over and over by many top economic experts in the world who say that to survive this economy, you need to have a business. And of all the businesses, network marketing is the very best one in the world. Heard this from a business professor friend of mine who's bought and sold 6 businesses, one at least in the $1 million range. And he teaches network marketing. He taught the world's first and only class certified in network marketing in the world, near here in Kansas. He said the same thing. And there just isn't another friend, David Fry, who is both an internet marketer and a network marketer. He said he's made millions in both, and he said, I can't tell you the difference. It's much easier in network marketing. It's a much easier dollar to earn. So congratulations for being in such a profession as this. And wanted to quickly read you what one of our students is on tonight that she said about this class, that she's getting so much out of the core basics, 7 skill, getting so much out of all these classes. And she posted a picture of the backpack she's been carrying around since starting these classes. She says it goes everywhere with me, books, notebooks, iPad, earphones, so that no matter where I am, when I have a moment, I'll work on something. It even comes to bed with me. I've never done this before, ever. And she said that when I asked her how this class has changed her, she said, I feel good about changing myself, having goals, and learning new things. And then Dr. Chris, who's also on here, said, I really love how you guys go over the 10 core basics each week, 7 skills, 5 laws of duplication. I think the Q&A, role play, and takeaway section at the end of the calls is very powerful. He appreciates the replays and timely manner, and having the replays with closed captions. He appreciates that. I like how you have the recap and guest invitation along with the recognition. I'm glad we're going to cycle through the core basics, and this is our second time through it now. I like how you both demonstrated how you go about getting into knowing your new distributors better and identifying their whys and motives. So you like that agent profile. So these are just some of the comments I wanted to throw out and appreciate about each of you and about the classes. The 10 core commitments are getting started right, be here a year from now, personal development, market daily, present daily, attend a weekly presentation, attend a weekly core training, which you're on right now, and attend a monthly regional, which is the topic for tonight, attend all company conventions, and the number 10 is monthly action plan. So like Chris said, that includes the skills, the mindsets, and many other wonderful things. So we suggest that you attend this for life and be able to learn from these classes so that you can teach it. Every time we go through one of these, I get something new on a deeper level, and I take massive notes. So keep track of which ones you attend, because we have 4 levels of certification for this. We've already given out 1 level, but if you haven't gotten that yet, let me know, private message me when you attend all 10 of these 10 core, even if it's by replay. Let me know that so that we can get you your certification for either your first level, or some people are working on their second level now. So we award these certificates. We get the basics. Basics will always, these are tried and true for decades, and they are the fundamentals that you need to move fast in your business and get your team moving fast. So we'll always go back to these, always deeply reinforce them. Like a plant, getting deeper roots all the time, becomes stronger and bigger on top as well. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'll mute myself.
Okay. So here we go, guys. Tonight's topic is attend a monthly regional. Before we do that, let's just run through the 10 core real quick like we always do. We don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time on any one thing, but the number one thing is just getting started right. And if you haven't gotten started right yet, that's okay. You can get started right now. You know, how do you do that? It's a simple list of the first 10 people you're going to go talk to. Most people get bogged down in the details. Most people contemplate, to think, to plan, to do 50 other things. And I just went through some certification classes over the last few days. I literally have spent like 24 hours straight studying all Friday, all Saturday, completing the first exam at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning Friday night, and then it was 2 in the morning Saturday when I completed the second one. But what those 2 certifications were about was DISC training, DISC training is basically the 4 personality types, and then the second was a behavioral consultant to be able to go in and actually work with teams and understand how it all fits together. And I've actually been studying that since Dr. Robert Rome actually came out with it about 25 years ago. And I say came out with it, is it already existed. There was actually several versions of it going all the way back thousands of years. But he actually took DISC from another guy and then created a course around it. I went through basically version 1, and it has definitely changed both for the better and for the worse. It was a lot more complicated at parts, but there wasn't as much fill in the gap. So I just went through all that, and what I realized is there's 4 definite personality types when you get started. And I could actually take this training and rip it apart and teach it to 4 different personality types. But the basics are, there's going to be your D-type person who gets started. And here's the thing. A D-type person is going to see the business, and they're going to see the big picture. They're going to see they need thousands of people, and they're probably not going to read the manual because they're high task, high active. They're not going to read the manual. They're not going to go on the website and learn all the products. They're not going to understand exactly how the comp plan works. They're big picture. They saw something amazing, and they want to tell other people about it. The unfortunate part is this is the person that will run out and tell 10 people. And D-type personalities a lot of times, because they're so directive and so demanding and so much of a doer, they'll be able to convince a couple people in. The problem is they won't get a lot of turnaround out of that unless there's some support. And the reason that is because D-type personalities will tend to attract supportive people around them, and those people are more people-driven, and they're a little bit slower to take the information in. They have to go look at it. Some of them are C-type personalities where they not only have to go look at it, but they're slower and task-oriented, so they do have to read every page of the website. They want to look at the fine print. The D-type personality doesn't even know the fine print exists, because they've never seen the manual. They actually will get into the company and never open the material. It'll still be sitting on their desk. Now, not only will the D-type personality do this, but even worse, if you contact an I-type personality, which is more of the inspirational, active people person, they might just get excited because there's a group of people excited. They don't even know, I literally have had this, they don't even know the name of the company they're in. They signed up, somebody else filled out everything for them. After they looked in their car, and after they looked in their purse, and after they looked in the floorboard, and after they looked in the glove compartment, and after they looked in their gloves and their coat and their hat and on the floor for their wallet, because they couldn't find that because they didn't know where the credit card was, and they eventually remembered a story about them going to the mall and shopping, and they realized they forgot the credit card back at the mall when they were talking to somebody, so they had to go back to the mall, get it. I'm telling you this story because that is exactly, if you run into an I, what will happen. And some of you are probably laughing right now because you know people who are like this. And they finally get it, and their friend actually fills everything out because they can't remember the login code to get into their Facebook page or whatever to remember everything. So their friend signs them up, and literally they'll show up to the meeting with somebody, and they won't even know the company they're in. They're like, oh my gosh, this is a good time, you got to go. And whatever last happened to them was the best thing that ever happened to them. And they're like, this is the best thing because it's the last thing that happened to me. You got to come with me. It's going to be amazing. The people are fun. And we're going to go out to eat afterwards, and we're going to talk. And this is the person that'll sit through the whole meeting and talk and still not know what business they're in at the end. You think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I had people like this on my team. They couldn't even spell the name of the company that we were in, and they were actually achieving in the company, which is even scarier. They necessarily didn't get started right either because we asked them to write down 10 names, and they're thinking, but I know 1,000 people. And they just start talking to people, and they talk to the first person they think of that's in their phone, and instead of telling them about the business, they start talking about the birthday party that they just went to and the best movie that they just saw and the best restaurant they just saw, because they like to talk. In the end, this person obviously needs some training and some support and some help. So you have these different personalities, and everybody goes to get started. And the unfortunate part is everybody gets started differently because everybody sees getting started differently, just like they view the whole world differently than these other 4. The problem is when you're building a network marketing company, or building any company for that matter, is you have all 4 personalities usually coming to the table especially in a direct sales company, because you're going to get people who see the big picture and see the money and see the prestige. You're going to see the people who see the recognition that you get and see the stage and, you know, these amazing stories of these amazing people, and then there's amazing people that they meet in the hallway, and there's amazing people who work at the events, and there's amazing people on the way to the event that they met at the gas station, and they're just excited to be excited in the business. And if you've ever been around one of those people, they can get you excited too, and you leave and you're like, what the heck are they doing? I don't even know what they're excited about. And then you'll get some that are the S-type personalities, and their kind of major fear is, you know, their safety, their security, because they don't want to sign up at anything that's going to hurt people. They don't want to sign up at anything that's going to take advantage of anybody. They want to make sure that this is a good thing, that this is the right thing. This is the type of person that if you're planning a party, you want to invite them 6 months in advance. So that way they can feel it out and check their calendar and make a decision and talk to somebody and make sure it's okay with them and make sure everybody's going to be okay along the way, that they're going to be gone for a couple hours. And they like to seek approval. And my screen just froze. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Okay, you can still hear me. Good. So along the way this happens, and then you'll have the C-type personality who is going to view the business, and they're going to look at it and be like, I just need to make sure that the numbers add up here. I mean, is this certified? Has a scientist checked this out? Has a mathematician checked this out? I mean, this is the type of person that says, well, if you pay out everybody this kind of money, the whole company will collapse. That would be true if everybody paid out, but there's an algorithm in the background that actually runs the business that actually will spit out the number of people who will actually succeed, because there's a number of people who will show up to the gym. Even though there's 10,000 people that sign up, not everybody always comes at the same time, because everybody has a different schedule and everybody has, you know, a different way to get there, and, you know, that's just how it works. And we know that certain people will sign up and never come in, and certain people will come in 3 times, and certain people come in 10, and then there's probably a handful of people out of 10,000, the 0.01% that will show up on a regular basis, and those are the same 100 people that go to the gym for 10 years. So that's kind of how it works. There's an algorithm behind it, and those people like to hear about the algorithm. They also want to know where to get the rest of the information. So when you're talking to them, you have to be very clear, you have to be very concise, and you have to be ready to answer some questions. And if you're not ready, the number one thing you need to know is where to get the information from. You don't have to know all the information. That's one thing that a lot of the S-type personalities will kind of, that it'll stop them, because they're like, I can't move forward without knowing all this, because then I'm not really able to help people. Well, here's a news flash for you. Your job isn't to help them to begin with. Your job is just to direct them to the information and let them learn at their own pace. The D-type's going to skim through the whole thing in about 10 minutes, and they're going to be like, okay, I'm cool, I know enough, I've seen some pictures. They're usually very visual people. The I-type personality is going to scroll through and see if there's a video that catches their interest. The unfortunate part is they're probably not even on the right website to begin with, because they're on YouTube looking it up, and then they watch a funny cat video, and then they'll watch another video of a friend that just came, and then they won't even remember what they're doing. The next day you'll be like, hey, did you watch that video? Oh, I forgot, but I watched this great show. You got to watch it, because I spent 2 hours. And this is just how the business works. You got all these different personalities, and you just have to, here's the thing you have to do. You have to worry about what you're doing, and you have to understand the game. You have to understand the game you're playing. And the game is we want to get in front of, we want the information in front of 10 people. And I just wrote this out, and I wrote this out a while ago. The number one thing is we contact people, and the reason we contact people is to see if they're open to the information. We contact them. Are they open to the information? Number 2 is we do a 10-minute overview with them on the phone. Now, why do we do a 10-minute overview? Because once you have their attention that they're open to the information, you want to get the information to them as fast as possible. So if you have to drive to the other side of town, that's not as fast. If they live halfway across the country, there's no way to do that. So that's why you want a simple 10-minute explanation. I would love to send them a video, but statistics show that people are not watching the video any longer. And then you spend 6 months chasing the person, trying to get them to watch the stupid video, and now you're even wasting more time than it would have taken you to learn the presentation in the first place. And I watch people do this, and here's the worst part. I've actually talked to people who have been in their business 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. I'm like, tell me exactly what you do. I'll send you a video. I'm like, no, tell me exactly what you do. You have 10 minutes to explain it to me. They're like, I don't know, I can't do it. I'm like, That's your biggest reason why you don't have anybody on your team. That is your biggest reason. It's not the video. It's not the video's fault. It's not necessarily even the company's fault. The fault is you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, why would anybody follow you? Leadership has a little bit to do with being the right person. It has a lot to do with being the right person. But I'm not going to follow somebody that doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't know where they're going. Hey, how do you achieve the first level in your company? I don't know. Okay, so now you want me to get in business with you and make money, and you don't even know how the money works. That's a problem. And here's the thing, it's a massive problem in the industry. You have a bunch of super ignorant people running around talking about great businesses when people don't know the first thing about the company that they're actually signed up in. Now, they can tell you everything about how wonderful the product is and how it'll cure cancer and, it'll cure, the dimness in your house and the dew point will change and your gas mileage will go down or your car will run better and your dog will jump higher and your cat will meow louder. And there's all these, just people come up to me and they're like, well, I know I'm not supposed to talk, but you know what will cure that? This will cure this and this will cure this. And if you do this, that'll cure this. You're not even supposed to use the word cure anywhere in your presentation, for those of you who don't know this. The reason our industry is under attack is because ignorant people are not following directions. We're not following directions, guys. I know you want a sale. I know you want your friend to buy it. But part of the problem is we're not doing our job as people in the business, and part of the problem is the companies aren't necessarily doing a good job of spelling out how to explain this to people. Because here's the thing, there's one thing I know, regardless, I started out when VCR tapes had first come out and you were supposed to send somebody a VCR. Back then, VCRs was really cool. There wasn't a whole lot out there. The movie stores were just popping up, 25 years ago. So when you got a VCR tape, you might only have 2 or 3 VCR tapes at home. It wasn't like today where somebody has 3,000 DVDs and they have 300 VCR tapes, which is funny because they don't have a VCR recorder or VCR player anymore, but they still have the VCR tapes. They still have all the Disney movies on their shelf. For nostalgia, I'm not sure what they're saving them for, but they still have them. They don't have a VCR player, but they have the VCR tapes, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's the same philosophy of what's going on in the business. We just want you to learn how to explain this in 10 minutes, and the reason being is you explain it for the presentation. It's a presentation. So we ask, first of all, we want to basically open the conversation. Are you open to some information? Then we're going to give a 10-minute explanation. It's an explanation of what we are. It may not solve every question, but it's just an explanation. It's not supposed to get them in. It's supposed to find out if they're interested to see more. Are you interested to see more? And if they're interested to see more, then what we're going to do is we're going to invite them to what? We're going to invite them to the open house. Now, the reason we're inviting them open house is not just for an explanation. It's for the entire presentation. And we're going to get the entire presentation, but they might not want to come. So what we're going to do is we need to use third party for confirmation. We need to use third party. We need to use somebody else to confirm that they're coming. So that's where third party comes in. Hey, Bess, I just talked with my friend William. William and his wife are kind of like, they want to know more, but could you real quick, I know there's an event coming up, could you real quick tell them about the next event that we have? And I don't care if the event is online like this or the event is, at the Holiday Inn, locally. I don't care if the event is in Chicago and you live in Indiana, wherever the next event is, you're promoting whatever that next event is. And that's for what? That's for confirmation. Now when they get there and they watch everything, and they're like, hey, this is cool. Now they're not seeing it for the explanation, right? They're not seeing it for the explanation. It's not necessarily for the presentation. It's to confirm what they've seen. They're confirming what they've seen. It's a watch this. It's validation. Because all of the stories that they hear there, and when they see the third-party presentation or the third-party testimonials, the testimonial is validation that this is true. And what are they doing? They're looking for somebody like them. Remember those 4 personality types? What will happen is they'll identify with somebody in the room. That's why you want to get them to a live event, so there's more than just you, so they see, hopefully, all 4 personalities, and they're going to connect with somebody like them. Because what I found is people will tend to gravitate and join people like them. Did you know that people also hire people like them? And that's actually usually detrimental to a company. And here's another problem. You're probably going to recruit people like you too. Because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you're that high I type and you just like to talk to people and you're not really good with details and you sponsor a bunch of other high I's, nobody even comes to the event because you forgot to tell them that it was happening. You were going to. You wrote it down. You don't know where. And I'm making fun of this because I did most of this. Like, this was part of my, I'm one of those weird people. I was off the chart with the D-type, the director personality, and that's only 3% of the total population. 3%. 11% is high I. About 60-some% is the S-type personality. So you're going to have a lot of people sitting, more people sitting in the middle than anything. That's why if you gather a room together of 100 people, 60 to 65% of that room is going to be pretty quiet and reserved, and they're going to be kind of like, I don't know. I just want to see this out. I want to meet some people. These are the people. I might not make a decision tonight. I'm just checking it. Don't rush me. Don't put me in a situation where I have to do anything. Because again, if you want them to make a decision, you should inform them 30 to 90 days ahead of time. So that way they can feel it out and make sure it's okay. And then you have a very small percentage of the population that's more of the C-type personality, or more of the calculating, number crunching, knowing exactly what's going on. And it's good that we have those people, because could you imagine the high I running the nuclear power plant? I mean, that would be awful. You don't want the high I running DNR or R&D, That's not going to work out. Or the shipping department. Can you imagine the high I running the shipping department? Well, we have all these packages here, and we have all these labels. We didn't get any of them out. We ended up having a party, and we started talking, and the truck's already left, and we forgot to put stuff on them, and we're really sorry, but, man, you should come back tomorrow. And that person doesn't really, that's not going to work out. So, getting back to this, validation. Validation. They see these third-party testimonials, and it validates what they're doing. And then the last part is the duplication. How do we get duplication? We get duplication by getting everybody to one of the bigger events. So that's kind of the process that we got to run people through. And here's the thing. If you don't know that process and you're not comfortable with that process and you haven't led anybody all the way through that process, what I have people do is I put a number. When I actually coach somebody, I'm going to give away some of my coaching style here. But when I actually coach somebody, what I'm trying to figure out is where they're stuck in the process. Because there's a process you have to go through. I want to know where they're stuck at. The first thing is have they contacted anybody? And if they've contacted people, I already know I can direct somebody and I can help somebody that's moving. If they're not moving, I might not be the best person to talk to. And the reason being is if you're not moving and you're not doing anything at all in the business, I'm not a professional counselor. I'm not. And I tried to be in the beginning, but Jim Rohn said, if you try to carry some people with you, you might be able to carry one. Now, I've worked out a lot. I can carry one. I've been able to carry some people. I mean, you don't go as fast, but you can carry. He goes, you might even be able to carry two. And I'll agree. I was doing some leg. They were kind of like a weird leg press. It was almost like a squat, but it was almost like a leg press. It was kind of like at a 45-degree angle. But I just kept loading up weights. I got to 455, and I could do more. But I was like, I probably shouldn't. The reason being is I just didn't feel comfortable going over 450. Because of my knees, and for those of you who don't know, you only come with 2 knees, and if you have to replace them, because I've had my grandfather have to replace them and an uncle have to replace them, they're not fun to replace. So I was like, 450 is probably where we're good. So I know I can carry at least 2 people, but he's like, you'll never carry 3. So what I had to do is I had to look at what I was doing and be like, I can't carry these people with me. I'm going to have to find out who's actually doing something. So the first thing is, are you contacting people? And if they're not contacting people, let's back up a step. Do you have a list? If you don't have a list, then let's back up one step further. How are you planning on doing this to begin with? And I just want to get their thoughts on kind of how they were planning on doing this. I was planning on doing leads. Okay, then we can talk leads, and that's a totally different conversation, but that's not normal. I would like to work with 90% of the people that I start in the business, actually have some people to talk to. Now, every once in a while, you're going to have that anomaly that starts in the business that doesn't have a warm market at all, doesn't have family, it happens, doesn't really have, like I've sponsored people that their family has passed away and they're a driver long distance and they really don't have a group of people. They're like, well, I know the receptionist and I know the logistics person and I know some people where I stop and, you know, where the truck stops are. I said, so you're going to use third party, you're going to use the 3-foot rule, who you run into, and you're probably going to have to do leads, because to have enough people to go through to make this work, to find the right people, you're going to have to do leads. And most people are cool with that, and then we can go that direction. But if somebody's like, yes, I have a mom and dad, yes, I have a brother and sister, I said, good. Let's write down the 10 easiest people to get a hold of that are just going to listen. Do me a favor. I'm working on something outside of my job. Now, the reason I always put that I'm working on something outside of my job and I don't say, oh my gosh, I'm going to quit my job, then people go into secure freakout mode. Remember when we said those 4 personalities? Most people are the S-type, and basically if most of us have been programmed to get a job, work that job, and save money, and try to make everything work out, and we start talking about quitting work and doing this instead right away, that's our first conversation with people, the first thing they think to do is talk you out of it to save you from devastation, to save you from a major mistake. And we don't even know that we're actually arming that person to come after us by the way we contact them. Did you know that? You're actually arming the person to come after you. You're arming the person to have all of these excuses by what you say. See, if you say the right thing in the beginning, you won't get any of these excuses. I just don't get these people like, oh my gosh, everybody who talks to me about a pyramid. I'm like, there is something you're saying that's triggering that. You're putting some words in their mind. Because I don't know if you know this, like when you say something, a word, we actually don't think in words. For those of you who don't know this, we don't think in words, we think in pictures. So language is actually visual. It comes up as a visual. So, you know, if I say Ferrari, you're picturing the car. That's just how it works. If I say, you know, this beautiful house on a mountain, everybody just pictured a beautiful house on a mountain. If I say pink elephant, you can't help but think of a pink elephant and actually think of it. And here's the thing, if you say it often enough, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's about 50,000 thoughts that we get all the time, and about 10,000 of them reoccur. If I say pink elephant enough times on this call, there'll be later this week, all of a sudden, that Rolodex of ideas is going through, and all of a sudden a pink elephant will show up, and you'll be like, what the? Where did that come from? It's because we talked about it on this call. So you can actually start planting messages just like advertisements on TV. And that's the purpose of do me a favor. Do me a favor. I want to share with you something I'm working on outside of work. So if you run into the right person, you could refer them to me. And people are like, okay, sure. What are you doing? Now, nowhere did I say business. I started a business. Nowhere did I say I started a direct sales company. Nowhere did I say I started this new thing that cost $500 and it has an auto ship. I didn't talk about how the product saved me $50 or how the product, my gas mileage is better. I didn't talk about the results of the product at all. Here's the thing, don't arm people ahead of time to give you excuses. Don't arm them. Because the minute you start talking about the results of how great your product is, everybody's wall goes straight up. And then they're thinking, uh-oh, they're going to sell me something. I need to create an excuse. Because nervous people who don't want to move forward will automatically think of an excuse. And the first excuse that comes to everybody's mind when you're asking them to go somewhere, look at something, or do something, this is why I do not invite people out to events right away, is they say, oh, well, I just don't have the time. I'm busy. That's because they don't have enough information to come out yet. But if I say, hey, do me a favor, I just want you to hear about what I'm working on outside of work, so maybe you could refer me somebody, now they're open. And now you can find out if they're open to hearing about the product, if they're open to hearing about the opportunity. Maybe they're open to both, but until you talk to them, you don't know. Don't assume they're not interested, but also don't assume they're coming out. Here's the thing. This is funny, the more detached you are emotionally from them doing anything, the better result you'll get. And that's a fact. I mean, I've watched it. People are like, they're like, well, I'd never be interested in something like that. I said, well, I already knew that. I mean, I had no intention of thinking that you were going to do this. And then here's the thing. Then they'll be like, why couldn't I do it? Well, because you're, critical of everything and you're negative, and, they said find the 10 people who are the least likely to do this and who are the most hard to manage, because you want to get all the excuses out of the way from the stupidest people first, and you were the first person I thought of to show, and here you are giving me those excuses. They just said talk to you first. Those people could never do this. I mean, if you want to, I guess you could, but probably not. I mean, they told us you probably couldn't do it. Watch this. You challenge the right person, they're like, I'll show them. I'm coming. When's your next meeting? But it's funny that, like, when you totally detach yourself from the result, here's the only result we want. We want 10 people to hear what we do. We're trying to educate. Because here's the thing. They might be like, watch this. Today, when you present to them, they might be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. I hate this thing. I hate your product. I hate you. I hate my life. I hate coming home. I hate going to work on Monday. I hate everything. You say, that's exactly what I was looking for. Just trying to find out what you didn't like. Thank you so much. And then tomorrow they'll be at lunch, and somebody will be like, you know what? I've been looking at this thing on TV that I was going to buy because it's this face stuff and it's supposedly, and they're like, oh man, you should talk to my friend. He's in a thing and he has a product like that. He just told me about it last night. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. People are like, man, I'm thinking about getting another job because Christmas time's coming and Black Friday, and I just want a job just to make some extra money. I was thinking about going down to the dollar store, or I was going to go to FedEx, or I was going to go to UPS, or I was going to drive for Uber, and people are like, you know what? A friend of mine's doing something where he's making money. I mean, I don't know if he's even making money yet. I mean, probably isn't. He's tried 15 of these things, but you should really talk to him. And all of a sudden, you'll get a referral of somebody who's actually looking. Wouldn't that be weird? Somebody call you and be like, hey, I heard you're in a thing. Because your friend didn't remember the name of it. They just know you're in a thing. You're like, actually, I am in a thing. Well, what did he tell you? He told me that I could make money doing it. Oh, great. Well, do you have a couple minutes? I'd love to be able to share with you what we do. So if you ran into the right person, you could refer, or if you have some interest, we'll sit down. It happens, guys. It happens when you do this. When you do this the right way, the referrals come in. The true definition of doing it the right way is how many referrals you get. If you're not getting any referrals, here's what I know. You're probably not doing it. Watch this. You're probably not doing it the most efficient way. You're probably not doing it the most duplicatable way. You're probably not doing it in a way where you'll have the most success with the most people. Just what I found. So getting people started right. That's number one. Number two is you got to be in for at least a year. And we're going to talk about that in the second part here about why the regional is you better be planning a year out. If you get in, you're planning a year out. I'm going to everything. What do we have to? I want to know every convention. I want to know every meeting. I want to know where they are. Just tell me now. I'm starting to put things aside and I'm starting to plan ahead. Now, here's the thing. You don't tell someone this up front. So there's a difference between being on this call because you're ready. You're ready to hear it if you're on this call. I'm positive. You're ready to hear this if you're on this call. This is what to do when you're ready to commit, not when you get in. This is kind of the counseling or the coaching when somebody says, all right, I'm ready to get married. Okay, we need to talk. Before you get married, there's some things we need to go over. Do you understand these things about marriage? And people are like, I've never even heard that before. Okay, that's an issue. You don't want to jump in until you know where all the conventions are. You don't want to jump in until you're dealing with the whole situations. Are you financially okay? What's going on? Do you know that the number one thing people fight about in marriage is what? It's money. It's money. Second is in-laws, and third is sex. Those are the three things. But isn't it funny that money, which is usually a communication problem, not only is it a communication problem, but it's usually a lack of problem. Most people are not arguing tonight over the extra $100,000 they found in the bank account. That's not what they're arguing about. That's not what they're worried about. We found this extra 10 grand. Why do we have an extra 10 grand? Now, if you just came back from the bank Sunday night after hours that it's closed and you have 10, okay, now we have a problem. But, I mean, if it's just normal that there's a 10, that's not what people are arguing about. They're arguing about a lack of money. Communication with relatives, getting in the middle of stuff, making decisions, doing that. And then it's all the relationship stuff. So this is something we're trying to knock out, but you got to have the conversation, right? So be in a year. There's a bunch of stuff we could talk about. We're just going to move on to the next thing. Personal development is third. Personal development is third. Now, why do I know personal development is so important? I'm building an entire company around it. My leadership network is basically because I kept reading and learning that a third of people are basically disappointed in life. Or I'm sorry, 2/3 of people are disappointed in life, and 2/3 of people are disappointed with the work they do. 70% of people walking around are miserable. Miserable. They don't like themselves. They don't like the people around them. They don't like what they're doing. They don't like their job. They don't like their career. They have things they don't like. I talk to people all the time. You know, what do you do? Oh, I do this. Do you like it? What don't you like? I don't like traveling all the time. I don't like always being gone. Like, it was cool at first, but now I have to be gone. I just talked to a guy. He's gone 200 and some days out of, 260 days out of a 365-day year. I said, how's that going? He goes, I'm getting divorced. I'm like, doesn't sound like it's working out real well. He's like, no, it's not. He's like, we actually probably should have done this 10 years ago, but I was gone and she's gone. She has a job where she leads to. He's like, so we just got around to talking about it. And, you know, we basically said we're going to be together until the kids are gone, and the last one graduates this year. So now we're having that conversation. I was like, wow, that's deep. That's the fourth person this year that is a client of mine that's told me the exact same thing. I should really do relationship counseling now. I mean, now I actually have the background to do it with a certification. But the point of this is it's an issue being in a year. So because there's these issues, personal development will help you communicate. Just like personal development could lead you to understanding more about people, understanding yourself. Here's what I found is whatever you're not good at, there's a book that could help you. Whatever you're not good at, there's an audio course that could help you. Whatever you're not good at, there's a seminar that could help you. And what you could do is book by book, audio by audio, and event by event, you can improve every area of your life. You can improve it. You know, if you're unhappy, dissatisfied with your spiritual life, you can change it. If you're unhappy with your family life, no matter what your family's done to you or hasn't done to you or was there or wasn't there or was bad, good, evil, there's books and seminars and people that you could talk to where you could overcome that and be okay with it and wake up every day and be like, yeah, it happened, but I'm cool. I'm moving forward. I have different goals now. I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward. There's financial books. No matter how bad you've messed up. I messed up to the tune of about $3.5 million. I messed up to the point where I lost everything, and it hurt my credit and family members' credit because I had overextended myself into other people's accounts. Very, very, very bad. Nobody was looking for me that was Russian from Chicago, but recently we did run into some people who were Russian and from Chicago who were looking for some people here in town that I had crossed paths with at one point, and they're like, we want to talk to him. He owes us money. And if you drive 3.5 hours and there's 4 of you in a car, they did not look like that was going to be a good conversation. I didn't know where the guy was, so it didn't matter. But you can mess up bad and come back. As long as you're still alive. If you're not alive, you wouldn't worry about it anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So that's 3 is personal development. There's a book, there's an audio program, there's an event, and there's people that can help you with any area of your life if you plug in. And that's, we kind of say that really the direct sales industry is a personal development company. It's a personal development industry wrapped around usually a company and a product. But The main reason why most people stay in the business is the development they got, not necessarily the product or the money. I mean, I hear that over and over again. Different companies, different programs, different products, different income levels. That's what people always talk about. They're like, if it wasn't for the if it was for the development, if the development wasn't here, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the money. None of this would exist. 4, market daily. Market daily. The reason we say market daily is you want to be actually marketing your business on a daily basis. Doing business, commerce. Commerce, business. Business means doing commerce on a large scale or being busy. Being busy doing something productive. The most productive thing, watch this, the most productive thing you can do inside your business is not read the website, not file your products, not learn the difference between wholesale and retail, not understanding every level in your company. The most profitable thing you can do is presenting your business to someone new. That's the most profitable thing you can do. That's the highest ROI, return on investment. Presenting to new people. So that's 4. 5 is present daily. Present daily, present daily, present daily. Why? It's the most profitable thing. Learn your 10-minute presentation. And then do your 10-minute presentation. I froze again. Says it's thinking. I'm back. We still here? We're still here. So, 5 was present daily. 6 is attend your open house. And you want to attend your open house so that way you can hear the presentation over and over and over and over again, because that's what it's really for, is to hear it over and over again so your presentation gets better, so that way when you present to other people, it's better. And you always want to show up, you always want to be consistent, you always want to have a good attitude, and you always want to be here a year from now. Why? Because you're planning ahead. Here's the thing, here's the reason why. You're recruiting people. People do not want to follow people that aren't secure and know that they're going to be here a year from now, at least. That's why usually you'll hear the biggest leaders say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this for life. I mean, there's actually a couple guys that I know that literally say the name of their company for life. That's like the brand of what they talk about, because they're driving home that security. Just like the same security you have when you get married. You say, hey, when we're married, this is for life. They don't say, hey, this marriage is a lease. In 2 years, you get to reapply and reevaluate. And I mean, who knows? Marriage leases may be coming, but they're not here yet. Attorneys probably would like to see that happen, though. Like, every 2 years, renew? Yeah. And then there'd be a fee attached to that, I'm sure. So, always show up, always be consistent, always have a good attitude, always be here a year from now. Attend a weekly presentation or open house. Next, attend a weekly core training, which is what you're on now. And the reason we do this every week is because once a month isn't enough for this information. You need to hear it over and over and over and over and over again so that you learn it. Think about this. You were in school from the age of usually 5 to 18. That's approximately something crazy like 40,000 hours or something. I mean, it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours. And 40,000 hours, and you want to sit down and read and watch one video, and you're like, I should know everything about this industry, and I should be able to build it to $1 million. But you go to school for 4 years, and have to get a bachelor's degree to sit and make $12 an hour or $15 an hour, which is insanity to me. I mean, I don't know. But core training, always show up, always be consistent, always have a good attitude, always be here a year from now. Next, we're going to talk about monthly regional, but we're going to talk about that here today. But again, you just want to show up, be consistent, have a good attitude. And then the big thing is you want to get to all the major events. Major event, major convention, your company's event, and then you may want to go to extra stuff. That's the reason we're putting on the free enterprise event. It's extra stuff. It's extra stuff to move as far ahead as possible, and we're going to dig into the stuff that they might not go over the convention. What I've found now is the conventions have turned from real information in a lot of cases to huge sales pitches to stay in the company. Huge retention sales pitches. You know, here's another story and another story and another story. You're like, where is, I don't know if you've ever been to one of these events where you're like, I came here to learn about how to market this, how to talk to people, and I know Joe Smith was broken on a farm, and I know, you know, Corey came from the particular Chicago hood, and he's made it. And I know this other guy came out of Miami, Juan came out of Miami, and he's made it. And I know, you know, this other lady from California, you know, survived on nothing, and she's made it. I know all these people made it, and I'm glad they all made it, but I want to know how this works. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those. But I like the balance of, you can do some of that. I want to hear those stories of people make it, but I want some content to me. If I'm paying some money, teach me something. Bring somebody in. And some of the companies do a wonderful job. I'm not making fun of anyone coming. I've just seen both sides to it. I particularly like the companies that kind of are well-rounded, meaning they have some stories of people making it to support and, you know, stabilize and steady and make sure they know that this is working. They have some meat and potatoes of, you know, they have the spreadsheet, and, you know, here's what we've done, and here's our numbers, and here's how many people are getting in, and here's what the marketplace looks like, and here's how many more people we can go after, and, you know, some significant details. And then there's big picture. They put out the awards and maybe give away money and bonuses, and there's new bonuses, and there's a new trip to win, and then they bring out a motivational speaker to kind of get you. Like, I like the balance of all that. And some of the best in the business balance it all out. But the last thing to talk about here is the MAP, the monthly action plan. If you don't know, if you don't have a monthly action plan going into each month, then you're really not building the business. What you are is you're a card-carrying member. See, there's a lot of 007 agents. 007 agents, 007 IBOs, 007 network marketers in the industry. You're a card-carrying member, but you ain't doing nothing. And the worst part is you're 007, nobody even knows you're in. Nobody knows you're in the business yet. So that's a problem, right? So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back to Bess for a minute and get her thoughts on these 10 core before we go into the second part. And we're right at I got 9:56. Can you help me?
I'm unmuted. I'm muted. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jeff. That was a mouthful. I took notes on all of these again. Thank you for the entertaining example of the 4 personalities. We're each learning these. We're each a mixture of all of these, but you can tell Jeff is a D and I'm an S predominantly, right? So we balance each other out. But boy, I love that stuff too, because it helps me to know how to work with people. It said that it's best to, you know, get in sync. It's like if you're going to dance with one of these 4 personalities, get in sync with them, get in step with them, get on their wavelength, match them, match their style, speed, even body language and how they think as best you can. I know a lady who's an expert at that. She could become a chameleon and be each one. Want to point out, have you seen the new video that Jeff made about a week ago in the MLM Millionaire Club, the Facebook group? I put that in the email too. It's about a 10-minute wonderful video on how to do a 10-minute presentation. So the first 5 minutes he tells why to do a 10-minute presentation, kind of like we talked about tonight, because people aren't watching the videos and they need to know, like, and trust you, and they get that confidence that way. And also, every time you say it, actually, you sell yourself on the company, so that's important too. And then the second part of that 10-minute video is actually how to do write a 10-minute presentation, including the 5 components of the talking about the company, the need, the product, the timing, and the comp plan, all from your company's website to make sure it's all company compliant. But if you haven't heard that yet, it is a jam-packed 5 minutes there at the end of that video. So you can find that again in the MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group. And I'll put a link to that in the email. So thank you, Jeff, for making that video on the 10-minute presentation in the Facebook group for people. Very, very powerful. And the last thing I wanted to mention was about mindset. That's why we do the John Maxwell Wednesday night classes, the MLM Leadership University, and why we do the weekday Facebook Lives, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. The more that I get into John Maxwell's books and the 21 Laws, the better person that I become. And network marketing is a place where you're going to face yourself. And if you do anything new, you're going to face, we each will face ourselves. And when we do, we have a choice right then to break through that and become new and face that maybe uncomfortable thing that we're looking at, or we have a choice to, I'm going to just back off. I'm just going to watch TV tonight. I'm not going to make my calls. I'm not going to face myself. I'm not going to take the next step that this business is making me take in order to grow. So we always have that choice, right, at every single step. And like Jeff said, you have all the support there. If your upline is not a support, that's what we fill in the gap for your upline. We are that help, that support. Yeah, at the end of this, we'll have questions and answers, or you can seek us out privately for coaching. So you have the support that you need. I give the example that if you have a garden hose and there is mud and sludge and a rock in there or something like that stuffing it up, it doesn't matter. That can just stay there. No biggie. But unless you turn on the hose. If it trickles, around it, okay, no biggie. Those things can still stay there. But if you turn up the hose full force, it's going to push that stuff out, or it's going to get blocked, and it's going to push and push until it can push it out of there, and it can have its freedom to bust on through. And that's the way it is with network marketing. When you sign up and you haven't done a company like this before, or if you're reaching for your next rank and learning a new skill or putting these into effect, if you're trying out the favor script and trying out doing 2 or more presentations a day, you're going to be churning up that hose. And you're going to find stuff in yourself that's uncomfortable, like, I don't really want to do this. Am I really this selfish? Do I really want to help people? Oh, but what if they say no? It's easier just to maybe say I'll do it tomorrow. Let's just watch this TV show tonight. So you have that choice, to turn down the hose or to leave it up, face the block, and go on through it. So the only thing that really matters in your success is your willingness. That's it. It's not your history. It's not the failures you've had before, the kind of childhood you had, just your willingness. And, of course, all that matters to work through, because that's the rocks and blocks. But what will determine your success is primarily one thing, your willingness to face yourself and get the help and all that you need to go forward. So that's what I wanted to add in for right now. Thank you.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go into attend a monthly regional. And the reason you want to attend a monthly regional is basically to keep the vision in front of you, to stay focused, to stay energized, and to hear it from a different point of view. What I found is every time I went to one of these regionals, a different set of people would get up and train. And the best regionals I've ever been to is not when they have 52 people cross the stage and say, hey, I'm a bronze, star, platinum, whatever. That's great. It is for recognition. Don't get me wrong. It is for recognition. But when somebody comes up and really tells their story, and certain companies are really good at this and certain companies are so-so. If the storyline is 15 minutes and they really don't get into anything that really happened, any real lessons, I don't see it as good. And let me give you a format of some events that I've been to. The best events I've been to. First of all, timing-wise, were in the evening. They were not during the morning or the middle of the day. The reason the regionals were in the evening is it was for maximum impact and maximum event capability. What that means is if you look at somebody's life as a whole, if you look at 30 days, and if you look at most families, when do most families have time together? Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. That's usually where families are together. Not always. You know, some people work Saturdays. I understand that. And some people are gone and some people have stuff. But most of the time, if you look at Saturdays mornings, it's a basketball game. It's a football game. It's a soccer game. It's ballet. It's dance. It's, you know, pumpkin patches and, you know, that kind of stuff. And you just see from 8 a.m. till noon till whenever. You know, some families, we used to always, you know, eat breakfast and watch a movie or something. That was kind of our Saturdays. You know, early morning cartoons, blah, 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 blah. And then you have, you know, the mid-afternoon, again, basketball games, soccer games, football for kids and, you know, kids events, and their recitals and plays and stuff are usually during that time. Evenings. If you look at most evenings, evenings are date night, are they not? Evenings are date night. Evenings are concerts. Have you ever heard of have you ever heard of Elton John going on at 9 in the morning? No. Why? He's important. Important things happen in the evening. You know, if there's a huge event, huge rally, political, I don't care which side. Does it happen at 8 a.m.? No. It's usually happening in the evening. You know, and I only mentioned that because there's a lot of that was just on TV here. If you look at a concert, if you look at music, if you look at the arts, if you look at dance, if you look at WWF, for goodness sakes, it's in the evening. Why? Because that's the most important time. That's the entertainment time. So what I found the best people in the industry do is they're like, rather than just entertain yourself, why not educate yourself? If you're here to build a business, probably the best time is if you want husband and wives to participate, spend the day with your kids. If kids, think about this. If the business is saying kids are really the most important thing, but your event is at 9 in the morning, somebody forgot to check their calendar. I'm just saying, you know, who forgot to check their calendar? Is the person running your event without kids? I wanted people to be able to be with their kids during the day and go to events and see soccer games. If you're building the business for the family, I'm not saying give up your family to build the business. But if the business is saying give up your family, but they said build it for your family, you might want to look at, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I would question, see, this is my problem in the business. I see incongruency really easily because of my personality. I'm half driven and half details, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And once it doesn't make sense, I've got to step in, and I'm the person, because I'm confrontational, I've got to mention it and then get into it with people. So I'm mentioning this so that way there's congruency, because there's going to be certain people you'll recruit, like me, who have my personality, that are going to see that stuff, and you want to see it in advance and at least say, hey, we only have to do it for a short period of time, or, you know, get to the point where you can run your own events or whatever you got to do. But what I found is the number one thing about a regional event is the time that it is. And here's the thing: some people don't know what goes into an event, and you know, most of the time, you're never going to hear what I'm going to talk about next ever on any training, on any show, you'll never hear this information. Why? Because it is for the top people who run the system. And 99.9% of the time, the ground force is never involved in any of that because you don't have the perspective. You don't, and that's the problem. You don't have the perspective to make the decision anyway. And that's nothing against you. You just don't have the input yet. It wouldn't make sense. Like, if we were going to have all of us fly over to China, and Bess is the only one that's talked and been around Chinese and known China, Bess is the one who's going to set up everything we're doing. Why? Because culturally it's so different. None of us have the perspective. Now, we might know what we like, but it's not about what we like. It's not about what's convenient for us. It's about that culture and what needs to happen. So I'm trying not to, this isn't to be offensive. It's reality. Obviously, if we went to the nuclear power plant and Bess is the only one who knows how to run it, and there's a problem, we're going to ask Bess to figure it out. We're not going to add our input. Well, some people would actually try to add their input and be like, get these people out of the room. They're going to kill us all. And the same thing is true with business. Sometimes your ideas would kill the business just because you don't have the proper perspective to see how it duplicates out and what will happen. Until you've built big enough and screwed it up yourself and be like, I wouldn't do that now either. You'll say to yourself, I'd do this right now. And then later you'll say to yourself, why did I even think like that? It's because you didn't have perspective. So here's some of that stuff. If you want to set up an amazing event, one of the most important things is number one, time. Time. What time is it? You know, what time is it going to go on? How many hours is it going to go on? Is it long enough? Is it long enough to get in all the information, but is it short enough where you didn't ruin people? Proper expectation of time is very important. Was it supposed to end at 9 and it ended at 12:30 because people can't tell time? Was it supposed to start at 8 and it started at 9:30 and people can't show up and actually be on it? I mean, I've been around organizations that they don't own watches for some reason. Here's the thing. The more money you can make, usually the more on time it is. I've found when the opportunity is probably capped at about 50,000, time isn't that important. But when the opportunity is capped at 500 million, everybody's on time. Like, really on time. In fact, we're early. Here's just a good memo. This is 3 things to write down if you want to know about time. If you want to make things work in your life like amazing, I learned this from somebody who worked military, but they worked in the nuclear facility. When the nuclear facility first came out, and you had to program everything to make sure everything launched at the right time, this is really scary stuff. They said, here's how this works. Early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. Because here's what late means in that business. Everybody dies. Not just you, everybody. Everybody. So early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. Late means everybody died. So imagine if you ran your entire life like that. Now, I'm still bad at this. I'm getting better. And here's the thing, certain personality types view all that stuff differently. So we won't go into that because that would take a long time. The next thing is the space. The event space should reflect the opportunity. Certain people are like, well, why aren't we just having this in the barn out at my cousin's house? Because nobody would believe you could make $1 million if it was at the barn. Well, why can't we just have it at the library? Because the library only does non-for-profit, and this is a for-profit business. Oh, I didn't know that. I know you didn't, because you don't have the proper perspective yet to understand how this works. The event space should reflect the opportunity. As the events get bigger and better, the event spaces get nicer and more expensive. Tickets. You should have some cool tickets. Right? Some printed cool tickets, themed maybe. Marketing. There's marketing that goes into these events. There's calls. There's videos. There's emails. There's email campaigns. There's Facebook. There's Instagram. There's LinkedIn. There's private campaigns for really good events. And some events, they're 6 months in advance. Some events are 120 days. Some months or some events are 90 days. But you'll rarely find an event 30 days or less that they're trying to just pull off. Although we have one every month. So that way, at that event, the most important thing is they should start the event off with all of the what? All of the announcements. That's why you have to be on time to know what's coming up. If you're not on time and don't know what's coming up, you're going to miss what's coming up, and then you're going to miss directing people to the next event. They used to do this. They used to sell cheaper tickets at the beginning of the event for the next event. So watch this. If you missed the beginning of the event, you missed out on the discount. I was like, man, that is cold-hearted, but it worked. I was like, actually, that's genius, isn't it? I was like, that's a really strong marketing. If you want people to be on time, people love saving money. Love saving money. Love it. Be there early. Get the special. If you don't come to the event, you pay more. I mean, they did a special at the beginning, they did a special at the end, but if you missed the event entirely, you paid full price or more. And what I mean by more is more than what, as the event approaches, they kept raising the price because this last minute stuff, if last minute you've got to expand to another place, you've got to be prepared. You might need speakers. You might need a mic system and speakers, depending on how many people. Once you pass about 20 people, you're going to need a sound system, music. A soundboard, somebody who knows how to run a soundboard, a mic, all that stuff. Guys, that stuff is not cheap, and B, it's complicated to run. I've watched tons of events that are disasters because somebody doesn't know how to work the soundboard. They forget to turn the music off. They forget to turn the mic up. They're static because it's plugged in wrong. I've seen them unplugged. Like the reason they're like, nothing works, nothing works, nothing works. I said, I'm one of those guys that always checks like the easiest thing first. I'm like, is it plugged in? Oh yeah, it's plugged in. Where does it plug in at? Oh my gosh, it's not plugged in. Okay, well, we figured that out. Does it have a PowerPoint to it? You know, is there some cool imagery? Does it have signage? All these things add to an event. Is there a ticket counter? Are the right people at the ticket counter? Do you have money or cards, or how are you taking money and tickets and keeping it all straight? Watch this. I was in an event. There were about 4,000 people there, and there were about 75 tickets that had been counterfeited. At a network marketing event, 75 tickets had been counterfeited. This guy went out, made his own tickets, made all the money off of the event, didn't even show up to the event. He got a call from the police station and the attorney saying you have two choices. You know, both of them were legal action and spending time in jail, or we could sit down and negotiate this out, and they actually threw him out of the company. So don't play games with tickets is what I'm saying. And it's bad that we even have to say that, but this becomes big business. I mean, I have friends that make over $1 million just from the events. You need the proper greeters. You need people who are dressed right. People who know how to smile and greet and have the right personality. If there's drinks or sodas or you want to know where food is. Now here's why I want to know where food is. This is actually from, watch this. This isn't even a comfort. This is from a health perspective. We had a lady drop in the meeting. We had 115 people in a meeting one time, and all of a sudden, lady's like, she starts wobbling, and I was speaking, and I watched her, boom, like hit the chair in front of her and hit the floor. Okay, my thought is from being around health classes, heart attack, pass out, you know, I'm looking at age, and I'm factoring all these things, and luckily, there was a family member there, and I'm like, what is going on? She's like, she's diabetic. That's all they had to say. I ran out into the main lobby, ran around the corner, threw money on the counter, and I said, I don't even care what it costs. I grabbed something. I said, we had somebody pass out. Their blood sugar is low. And I ran back with orange juice, and she got a couple drinks, and the 3 people had already picked up the phone and called 911, and we had the ambulance there and the fire chief, and, you know, everybody came. And, you know, she kind of laughed about it, and we all laughed after the fact, and that pretty much, you know, ended that part of the meeting really quick. But one of the things I'm doing is I'm looking to see what's available in a place, not just does a place have coffee, but like if we had to get to something that we absolutely needed to save somebody's life, do they have it there? Do they have a first aid kit? Do they have fire extinguishers? I know that's dumb to look at, but I've been in situations where, I mean, at one of the events, there was a bomb threat. 5,000 people, bomb threat. Package left in the middle, I mean, dead center in the middle of a floor. Just really suspicious looking. And this was during a time when it wasn't cool. It was right after 9/11. So we were in a large facility, and there was another group there that was, and they're like, no, this is the real deal. Nobody called anything in, but since it's sitting here, lock the place down. You know, SWAT came in. It was, you got to be prepared. And you think, oh, I'm just going to a meeting. It's only a $20 show. This is what goes into the background of this. And people, like, I'm only telling you this so you guys can understand what goes into this, to understand the importance of what you're doing. And some of you, you won't even get this yet. But later, you'll be like, man, I remember this guy who told us all this crazy stuff about these events. Now I understand. Because one day you might actually want to try to run one of these. You need to have an agenda, as dumb as that sounds, a written out plan of when stuff happens, and remember that people aren't robots, and you'll need restroom breaks, and you'll need people to get up and walk around and socialize and meet. You'll need to make sure that the price works for everybody. I know that's dumb, but does the price work with the company and what you're doing? You'll need great people to introduce. Music, copyright infringement stuff. I mean, you gotta make sure you have it all covered. That's just to set up an event. Why? Because of social proof. Watch this. It basically all starts with you. Because if you want people to follow you and you want people to come, are you 100% sold out? Which means, do you have your ticket in advance? Oh, but I buy everything at the last minute. Really? But you want your people to buy it up front. You want people to follow you, but you're planning at the last minute to go. Nobody will ever follow you. Leaders have their stuff first, not last. Who are you leading if you're buying it last? Are you in to win? So, mindset-wise, do you have the mindset of a poser? I'm going to buy my ticket last. I'm going to show up late. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to goof around. I'm going to bring my iPad so I can watch funny YouTube videos. I'm not going to take notes. I'm not really going to pay attention. I'm going to be out in the hall. You know, we used to call them the lobby lizards. The lobby lizards, they'd kind of lean up against the wall and try to blend in. Talk to everybody that goes by. Yeah, I'm here. I'm at the event. What'd you think of the event? How would you know you're in the hall? Then you have the amateurs. The amateurs kind of come. They're not necessarily on time either. They're more concerned about, well, I had to watch the end of the football game because that's really going to matter in my life, or I had to watch the end of the hockey, or, you know, whatever important event. I was watching a movie, you know, come in late, hadn't eaten, you know, so they got fried chicken in the back, eating a bowl of, I asked a friend of mine, it's the funniest thing. I was like, what's the funniest event you've ever been to? He's like, this woman brought in a tub, like 24-piece of fried chicken, was handing it out in the back row. So all of a sudden the whole room smells like chicken. And he's like, I'm up there trying to train, and the only thing I can think is, man, I really want some chicken. I was laughing so hard. That guy was great. Are you a pro? Are you a pro? Watch this. Are you an example to follow? Are you a lesson to teach from? My friend used to say, I was like, oh man, that's good. So good. Are you an example to follow that you can teach other people, or are you a lesson that we have to warn people against? Are you dressed right? As crazy as it sounds, hygiene. For guys, are your nails or your hands, does it look like you were, you know, a diesel mechanic right before you came in? You fixed, you know, your carburetor on your car, or were you digging in the dirt? Were you tunneling here? Like, you know, is your hands clean? Is your clothes clean? Smells? And smells on both sides. I'm talking about everything from body odor to the point where you literally doused yourself in some kind of cologne, perfume, whatever, where there's like a cloud following you around. Some people are too much. You've sat next to them before and, you know, hyperventilated. Time. Are you on time? Are you showing up before the event? Posture. What is your posture like? Are you sitting back like this in the meeting? Are you sleeping during the meeting because you can't pay attention? I know it sounds bad. I mean, I've seen it all. We've had enough people at our events. I've seen weird stuff. Weird stuff. Is your attitude right? You know, is your attitude right? Is it positive? Or is it, oh, it's coming on stupid, you know, meetings, and the last meeting, I haven't made any money since the last one. I'm not promoting. Are you promoting? I'm leaving during the recognition. I'm not clapping for that person. That person got in after me, and they've already succeeded. I'm not clapping for them. I'm mad. And we used to say, you're either going to get inspired, you're going to get inspired by seeing somebody dim-witted who passes you, or you're going to get frustrated and mad and angry, and you're going to do it out of anger because somebody dim-witted passes you. I promise you, if you're in this thing long enough, meaning direct sales long enough, you will meet some people that you're like, how in the world did these people get to $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000? Like, I met people all the way up to $500,000, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And they're nice, they're super cool people, but I'm like, they didn't seem like they could find the meeting, let alone find their way to $500,000. But they just stuck in it and stayed, and they're the nicest people in the world, and everybody loves them. How's the comp plan work? They have no idea. But they know their product, or vice versa. They know the comp plan, they don't even know what company they're in. They know how to recruit. I mean, they're master recruiters. They're master at building relationships with people. They came from different, like I've seen it all. I've seen singles build it. I've seen married couples build it. I've seen people in their 70s and 80s dominating. I've seen 18-year-olds come in and crush it. I'm actually friends with a 20-year-old. She's about to turn 21. She's already a $50,000 earner in her first year. Pretty solid. Great business, like understands the game, shows up, it's awesome. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Bess for her thoughts on the monthly regional, and then we'll wrap things up and then talk about what your guys' concerns are. Bess?
Hey, Jeff.
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for all those examples and the humor. So at a regional, you can meet people that you don't usually local. You can meet upline, crossline, downline, and why is that important? Because you can learn from each other, you can support each other. I had 2 clients who were crossline in a country, and they became great friends, and they supported each other, accountability, at least weekly calls back and forth, just because they liked each other a lot and wanted to do that. You can meet people all over so that and work together, combine forces so that the person who has a local meeting can invite everybody in everybody's group to come and join in. That they can help put it on together, or they can attend it together, and they can bring people together. So it's a teamwork, team effort. They can also learn to mastermind about events and solutions, but most of all, become lifelong friends. So many people in network marketing have made the best friends for decades. And at the end of their life, they say it was the people that was even better than all the other successes and everything. The lifelong friends that they made, the family they made within that company. So that's one of the things you can get by attending a regional. How to get people there. You can challenge your team with a contest, perhaps. Let's see who can be the first people, the first 5. Let's see who can get their team to buy the first 5 tickets, and you could offer a prize for that. You can offer them a lunch once they get there, a special luncheon or an event just for them. You could create a Facebook group where people can log in their commitment of how many people they want to bring and their goals as they begin to reach that. Like I sold, one of my team members just bought their first ticket, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or so on, because that builds excitement. Everybody can see that, people logging in and filling in that chart, and it builds the excitement and as well as the accountability, because if you tell somebody something, you're more likely to do it, right? Eric Worre says, say yes, tell the world, then figure out how to do it. So you can encourage that. There's something synergistic about people seeing people, oh, they're attending, they're going, their team is getting tickets, and it feels like you want to do it too, or the rest of the team just wants to do it too, and you don't want to feel left out of that contest or getting to the event. You're seeing everybody's getting there. Well, you're just going to be home alone if you don't go. So you kind of want to join in all the excitement there. It's kind of contagious. You could have a teleclass or 2, or a series of them, to generate interest for that. This is for destination events, but also could be for the monthly one. You could have a teleclass or a top earner who's going to be speaking there, maybe speaks to your team and says, this is why you want to get to that monthly regional. You can ask people to do something there. If you're putting it on, you can help increase attendance by asking someone to bring something important, to bring someone important with them, pick up someone on the way, or you can do part of the presentation or emceeing, or give them a job, large or small, to do. It was Matt Morris who said, nothing replaces the power of events. Get people to events and they'll build a business. And it was Eric Worre who said, he goes, I may have been bad at the other skills, but that was my greatest strength, is getting people to events. So he says, learn to promote events and you don't need to learn anything else. Well, we might say, yeah, the other skills are important too. But that's what I have to contribute right now about events. So would like to open it up for questions and answers. And actually, I would like to start out with a question that was emailed to me. I'll pull that up here. And this is your fellow class member, Dr. Chris.